Bibi, it is
Mhm.
so great to see you, love. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm equally excited to see you and have this juicy, beautiful conversation.
I know I feel like I've been waiting for this for months and months and months. I feel like ever since we got connected and then we got reconnected and then we saw each other live in person, I feel like like you make, I feel like sexual development and exploration and tuning into more of the feminine side of things within ourselves and within relationships. I feel like you make it so easy. So can you please share what has been your journey to where you are today, and how did this kind of like unfold? Was it a rupture? Was it you in your former life?
Mhm.
Who are you, I guess, in your former life that has led you to this unraveling of yourself in this way that so many people are like, I need Bibi in my life, including myself?
I thank you for that, Anita. Yeah, I actually think, we kind of like each other and we had that instant spark because I think we share a lot of common threads in our evolution, in our story. And you're a doctor. I was actually a corporate bitch for 15 years, right? I know your story. You mentioned a lot of hardships when growing up, and although I wouldn't compare myself here at all, but I did grow up in communism, where there was a lot of scarcity mindset. Yes, I grew up in Poland. I'm 100% Polish. And, my parents would mainly focus on how to save and how to survive, not really how to evolve and how to thrive, right? So my mission was to really take a path that will allow me the freedom that they didn't have. Financial freedom, freedom of traveling around the world, and again, all these things that they didn't have when they were younger. And it all looked very shiny. And I graduated. I actually have 3 masters,
Of
3
course you
masters
do.
and finance and banking, international marketing, and 3 really very respectful universities in Europe. Because that seemed like a great idea at a time. It wasn't really a passion, but it was a decision made from my, masculine, logical side. And it was all very well planned. And I had a 2-year plan and a 5-year plan, and it all kind of, went really, really well. I graduated, I got scholarships, and then I joined a really phenomenal kind of graduate trainee program for a big corporation, international corporation, where I was started to travel the world. I started in Switzerland and went to Sydney, Australia, New York, Mexico City, Sao Paulo, got all the expat packages and all the shiny life and all the things and great bonuses. And, mainly throughout those 15 years, I spent 15 years in that golden cage.
Wow.
This kind of, an idea, okay, freedom, pleasure. I think it was mostly focused on pleasure because the job itself was never really fulfilling. It was never really making my heart sing. So then I would have to look for all those things, pleasure outside, right? Is it shopping, traveling, casual sex, to feel that glimpses of happiness, right? And it worked for a while, but then towards the end of those 15 years, it stopped working, as simple as that. And it was interesting because I was even in a moment when I was in Brazil and I was on private jets, flying on private islands, and I, ticked all the boxes, got my Rolex and all the things. And then one day I was just like, I'm the most unhappy I've ever been. And what an honor, what a pleasure to actually take a shortcut and not spend all my life, chasing that rainbow to only find out when I'm retired that wasn't it, right? All the way along.
Well, Bibi, I want to stop you there for a second, because I feel like, for so many people that are kind of navigating their place, you know,
Mhm.
they got the Rolexes, they're doing the thing. And what I kind of want to just reshare in what you just shared is, you know, you tried to find pleasure outside of
Mm.
the rat race of what you were in as a corporate bitch, which I totally love because I was not a corporate bitch, but I was a conventional bitch. That's what I was. And
Ah.
yeah, and yeah, I mean, you know, living in my masculine for
Mhm.
sure,
Yep.
but not integrated. I felt like, you know, I think I needed to um really, like, I felt like I had to think like a man, even act like a man, you know, sound like a man. And I just recently watched that there's that documentary, or even, oh, what's that, with the woman who, it's on Hulu. Maybe it's not a documentary, it's a
Mhm.
series, but Amanda Seyfried, she was the woman who she played the role of the lady who got big in Silicon Valley, of
Mhm.
like her blood company. I'm losing the name of that show. Anyways, but maybe some of you know what I'm talking about. But she acted like Steve Jobs. She even wore like turtlenecks. She like lowered her voice. But when you watch it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's because there were no expanders of
Mm.
women living out their femininity and their flow. And this poor girl, you know, she wanted the best and she had the best insight for
Yes.
her, you know, for what she wanted to do. I think she wanted to solve the problem of like taking blood with like one drop,
Mm.
and things got out of hand. But what if she just leaned into her feminine? I mean, for
Yeah.
me, it took, you know, doing things like going to Burning Man, having a rupture in my marriage,
Doing
and
your ayahuasca 3-day journey.
doing my Aya for 3 days. That I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like the liberation and the
Yeah.
pleasure in that. But when we're little, I mean, talk to me about this, because you grew up in communist Poland,
Mhm.
where I feel like sexual oppression had to have been there, right?
You know, the reason it has been there is because it's, you know, very Catholic country, right?
Right.
So again, it was never a part of education. It was never a part of a conversation with parents or anyone really, right? And you know, I was lucky in a sense that actually my parents were atheists, and they were quite free. And I remember my mom being topless since I was very young. So I maybe didn't get any education or information that was useful or informative, but I also didn't really get that, you know, hide or never, you know, expose your body. My parents were pretty free in that sense. So I'm very thankful for that. But my first education around sexuality was from pornography. And you know, I hope my parents don't mind, but I shared it a lot. When I was, I think, 13 years old, I snooped through my parents' stuff because I was curious. And back then, do you remember VHS? We
Oh
were a little bit older.
yes,
So
yes.
they had one VHS, you know, by today they're married for 40 years. So they had one VHS and I was curious and I looked at it, right? So that was really the first image of sexuality that I've seen. And when I lost virginity in age of 16, this was exactly what I was replicating, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
you know, that's my education came from. But yeah. And you know, I
Wow.
want to come back to the point that you talked about the masculine, because all those years and, you know, part of my career I spent in New York, and
Mhm.
I didn't even know what feminine masculine is, to be honest with you. And if you would ask me how to lean in my feminine, I had absolutely no idea. It's such a masculine energy city where everyone is on the go, everyone is like driven, action, goal oriented. You know, I was in my suit going to a big trading floors on Wall Street with 700 men trading stocks, you know,
Yeah.
and I was picking up guys in the club. I was like the masculine hunter, and I was having a performative pleasure sex and jumping around and putting on a show and faking hell a lot of orgasms. And I think, you know, taking pleasure from basically hunting and just validating myself through that.
Mm.
But there was nothing. And, there was, of course, there was drinking, there was drugs, all these things that are really common in New York, and especially on Wall Street, actually, because that intensity and stress is then, offloaded with the use of all kind of substances, right, to mitigate that. But and there was also a lot of, casual sex, because I always say, kind of a weekend on Wall Street looked like, hey, let's go out, let's get drunk, and let's get late. And there wasn't really like, intimate eye gazing or asking what is your desires or boundaries, then there was none of that.
Right.
And so back then, if you would ask me, what does it even mean to lean to your feminine, or what does it mean to be connected to your body? I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Because even in that time frame, you leading with your body and in those circles in New York City on Wall Street, it sounds like it was even in the sexual way leading in your masculine, right?
Totally masculine, totally from the mind, from the doing perspective. What am I going to do next? Nothing about being, everything about doing, rather than feeling or allowing. And it was much more kind of hunting, chasing, pushing, instead of, inviting or opening up to anything. So
I love that you said opening up and inviting whatever is coming in, instead of like charging at it.
Exactly. And I share this story a lot, but I also know it is actually important, because so many women come to me because they resonate with that story. So many women in a corporate roles, running their businesses and being so much in that masculine. And yeah, so I know that story resonates with many.
Oh, so much. So then, okay, when do you shift then in your story from like the corporate bitch into, I mean, from what everyone, says that you are, and I've experienced you in action as well, on teaching people to have amazing orgasms, and even just like coming into their feminine. When was that shift for you? Or what was that kind of breaking point where then things needed to shift completely?
Yeah, the breakthrough was the breakdown, as it usually is, right?
Yeah. We all have that.
We all have that, right?
We all have that fall.
Exactly. Something I know, we share in common. And yeah, like all of those distractions stopped working, basically. And I was 15 years into the golden cage, and I was in a place I didn't like. São Paulo did not resonate with me at all. And there was just like nothing I liked. And I lost mojo. I lost my mojo. And nothing was exciting to me. I felt stuck. I felt scared. And I was also so negative, complaining, and just, in very low frequency emotions. And I even got tired of myself. And one day it was just to such a low point that I was like, you know what? I'm done with being with myself. I don't like my own company. Fuck it. Let's change it. And literally I picked up a phone, went to a therapist. From there, I went, once you open up to things, they start to come your way, right? Someone gifted me the power of now. Someone said, why don't you join a meditation course? Then, it was, 2012. Why don't you come to an ayahuasca ceremony? And like, then it started snowballing. And I started this beautiful journey of self-exploration. But, I just want to say it was freaking scary. So if you are guys in a similar moment that you kind of know you want to take this leap and jump, it's not easy. And I was really, really scared. But kind of where I was, the pain of risking was still less than the pain of staying where I was. So I decided to take a leap. And just to make short, long story short, so we have some time for juicy tips, etc. On that journey of self-exploration, I finally started to get out of my mind and connect to my body, right? Was it Vipassana? Was it, different courses? And I love to learn, and I kind of got my mojo back and did all kind of courses, workshops. I went to India to Osho Ashram, all kind of things, right? And along the way, I ended up on a workshop where I kind of had a full body orgasm, energy orgasm. Different people will call this phenomenon differently. Some will say it was a serpent arousal, Kundalini awakening, but you know, something went up. I experienced bliss. I connected to the higher realms and kind of, you know, my expanded. And once you kind of expand, you don't contract anymore.
So true.
And yeah, right. And this was such a powerful experience that my first question was, why is no one teaching us that? And it was also beautiful that I engaged with a gentleman who was on that workshop. We both had that energy awaken, and we kind of spent a night together in our clothes. But because both of us, the energy was activated, we had 5 hours of full body orgasms, one after the other. Not even again
clothed?
In our clothes. Yes.
Fully clothed, full body orgasm.
Yeah.
For 5 hours.
Yeah. And we were equally surprised as you are right now. Like, what is it? What is happening? You know, so we kind of started dating and exploring intuitively. Then sadly, in other parts of our life, we were not a match. So when we took our paths apart, I was like, I want to continue to experience that, right? So that's when I really started diving into it and exploring with myself, right? And when I first gave myself a full body orgasm without even really touching myself, then I just couldn't stop talking about it, because like you, when you experience something that is so transformational, has such an impact on you, what do you want to do next? You want to share it with as many people as you can. So I would have those conversations about this full body orgasm everywhere with everyone. And people were listening. People were curious. People wanted to know more. And then people started even coming back saying that after just our conversation, something shifted and they felt the energy moving. And that is how it all started. And then I started exploring more. People started to ask for more. And I just was there to receive this call. So I finally started to, even in planning my life, I stopped from that masculine, linear, 2-year, 5-year, 7-year goal, objective steps, pam, pam, pam. I never planned to be a sex, love, relationship coach. And it was just, I was just following what people wanted from me. And it kind of, you know, organically started to happen. And I allowed it. Instead of pushing and chasing, I started allowing. And
so you're on this path, and you're now like allowing, and you're embracing, and you're having full body orgasms by yourself. I mean, are you able to experience that clothed, or are you also, you know, having your own exploration in that way on every level? Okay.
It's absolutely both. Once the energy is activated, is up, you can command energy, and you can play with energy, and becomes easier, like playing an instrument. You know, when you kind of know how to attune into that frequency, you can start easily, you know, playing with that. Of course, if you add physical genital stimulation, you add another layer to that, but it's really possible in both ways. And
well, because I mean, you've been brought on so many amazing stages, of course, and teaching these types of workshops all over the world. So tell us the question that we are all thinking of: how can we have more powerful, deeper orgasms that cause for deep transformation?
Yeah, so, you know, you will be surprised, but the first tip is stop focusing on the orgasm.
So we shouldn't be focused on the end result.
I tell you, because this is sadly something we really, you know, even the way we make love is very masculine, right? Because if we learn from pornography, which is done by men for men mainly, there is a female erotica, but it's still a minority, right?
Small.
So it's still this very action, friction, goal-oriented way of looking at lovemaking. And what happens is that if you're just focusing on the end goal, if you're focusing on an orgasm, it is slightly ahead of you. It is not in the very moment, right?
It's you're chasing the carrot on the stick, and you're kind of like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold off until somebody finishes.
And it's really we kind of chasing that one point in time, and that climatic few second experience, right? And we kind of call it peak orgasms, but there are different expressions of orgasms. And so what I'm like to invite my clients to do is to have a self-pleasure practice, or have a lovemaking session with your partner of an hour, let's say, and say, hey, let's not go to the climax. Let's play in the other rounds. And that is the first step to allow you to see, once you actually stop chasing that thing, you're going to be so much more in the moment, so much more present with moment to moment sensations, so much more in the present moment, so much less pressure to perform, less pressure to get to somewhere, and just enjoying. And I know it sounds cliche, but it really applies to everything in life. Is it business, your personal life, or lovemaking? Really enjoying the journey instead of focusing on the few seconds of the destination. And just this alone will shift things.
So you're okay. So I mean, because this is a lot of really juicy info, and I also want to, honor it seems like the elephant in the room. If we're not, it would have to take conversation between two people. Absolutely. In order to. So how do you guide people who either may be, they're kind of like wanting to have this conversation with their partner? How do you even bring that up? Maybe it's like sharing this podcast episode with them.
Like, you know what? I actually, it's not easy. And I actually teach in my courses in exact steps how to have those conversations. And I would start with being vulnerable and saying, hey, I'm really uncomfortable bringing up this topic. It really is slightly out of my comfort zone and brings some, certain nervousness, but I want to open up that conversation. I think it's important for us to talk about that. So once you kind of, from the get-go, you're not accusing, pointing fingers, projecting, judging. You're saying, hey, this is also not easy for me, but I'm open to do that because I find it really, really important, right? So that's how I would open the conversation. And then I would always, I like to have, I call it third party deliver the message, right? So you kind of not suggesting that now you know more than a partner and maybe putting them in an uncomfortable position, but you can say, hey, I came across this podcast, or I read in that amazing book, or I was on a workshop and there was a conversation about that, and I would love to explore that with you. And would you be open for that?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
How does that make you feel? Right?
Yes, this is it. I mean, this is so good, because I think so many times we're afraid, especially if it's like a new relationship, or maybe you've just been in it for a very long time, that you may have lost the spark or the mojo, as you've shared, where you're kind of like, ooh, I don't even know how to bring this up, but just coming from that place of vulnerability of like, I'd love to experience that with you. Yeah.
And then I also like to say, you can, if the other person is really skeptical, you can also make them aware what's in it for them, right? So I'm gonna go like straight into an example, but okay, I've heard that men can also have a full body orgasm, and that there is a beautiful way of worshiping the lingam, which is the name for the penis in Sanskrit. And I realized I actually have no way how to do that. I would love to learn more, so I can also bring different flavors of, stimulation, pleasure to you. So I think there is, for both of us, so many new territories, so much more depth to pleasure that is awaiting. I'd love to explore that with you. And you can also say, why do you want to explore that with this person? So of course, be authentic, don't invent, because then it's not going to land. But you can say, hey, you are the most important relationship in my life, right? We've been married for 15 years. Like, if not with you, then with who? Or with someone new, I'm feeling really safe. For the first time, I'm feeling really safe and connected with someone, so I can even bring that up, right? that usually works well as well.
Oh, this is so good. And well, and I kind of just want to like the overarching theme though, because
Mhm.
when I first started exploring my sexuality, I mean, this was after my divorce, and you
Mhm.
know, it was very tumultuous, traumatic. I had a lot of healing to do. Yet I wanted to, because I was on this path of like personal growth,
Mhm.
yet nobody talks about sexual growth. You know, sexual personal development so different than like sexual development as well. And I feel like there's only a few folks who are in that container, including yourself, that are like icons in this work, bringing this out to normalize that, yeah, sex is a little bit more than just orgasm,
Oh my
and
God.
there is so much energy involved, yet to be open to even conversations like you just shared of being vulnerable. That's the intimacy, not just like
Oh.
actual sex, but then
Mhm.
also um why, why do you think it's so important for us to kind of get into and develop our own sexuality? I know for me
Yeah.
that was like something, because I never grew up with that, coming from
Mhm.
like Asian cultures, and even Kama
Yeah.
Sutra is like the backyard of Indian culture, yet being ruled by the British for
Yeah.
300 years, and no
Yeah.
one wants to really talk about that.
No.
And so
I'm gonna come back to what you said. I actually think that personal growth and exploring your sexuality are so tied together. And often, sexuality is a mirror of everything else in our life, right? And really, if you look some of the ancient belief systems like Tantra, this sexual energy was used for self-realization, for expansions, for evolving, for connecting to the divine, for reaching higher states of consciousness. So to me, actually, conscious or sacred sexuality is a beautiful path for growth, for self-exploration, for self-realization. And this sexual energy, the turn or the pleasure, the arousal can really be like that fuel that actually amplifies your journey, right? And meditating, it is that there is a lot of research, especially for us people in the Western world. It can take 10, 20 years to really, get to kind of states of awareness where we're really in peace, etc., etc. While orgasmic states, and again, I never like to use the word shortcut, but I like to use the way highway. For me, the orgasmic states are kind of a highway to that, and we can use that sexual energy to amplify that path, to amplify that expansion. And that's what it really, is. The idea is that we're not just going to use it for instant gratification and pleasure and procreation, but we're going to use it for all these other things like healing, like reaching higher states of consciousness, like self-love. Oh my God, I hear this all the time in my courses. Women say, oh my God, we joined this course because we thought it's going to be about orgasm, but this is so much about self-love, right? So there is so many layers, so much depth to that exploration. So it is absolutely, for me, connected and intertwined with personal growth.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you're right about that. I feel like it has taken, and I think for those who are brave to acknowledge and share what they don't know about their sexuality, or maybe what they've been ashamed about in their sexuality, to then bring it into the foray. Because as you were saying, if most women in your courses are saying this is about self-love, then what are we getting taught in society, where sex is like about the other, where we're not able to reclaim power in the bedroom or even voice our desires, because God forbid we want to rock the boat of like what we need, because many times we don't even know what we want. We don't even know what we need.
I
And
get
so
this all the time, all the time. I have, especially because my number one focus is working with women. They all say, like I'm asked by my husband, what would you like? And I have no idea. I never explore. I don't understand. I don't even know where my G spot is, right? So, yeah.
Well, so because I know one of the things that you talk about is being okay with self-pleasure, and you just even shared, the access to self-pleasure. So
Mm,
we know, I mean, I was born and raised, Hindu on my dad's side, Catholic on my mom's side.
mm,
I mean, sex was terrible and all of the things. That's what I was taught growing up. And then, of
yeah.
course, we had so much trauma. So that was like the last thing that was in my mind when I was in
Mm,
my teen years. Yet, uh, so that was like a different container altogether for me. And
mm,
then let alone self-pleasure, that is foreign to so many
mm,
women. The
absolutely.
shame, the discussions around it. I mean,
Oh,
so
just today I had a call with so many women and they were sharing exactly the same. And in the Middle East, with the different religious beliefs, I have a lot of clients from there. Is it again conservative parents? Is it just even also insecurities around our body, right? There's so many reasons for thinking that self-pleasure is not really. One second. We're gonna pause here 1 second. So for me, the way we self-pleasure is really, first of all, how we love ourselves, how we honor our body, how we give ourselves this loving, healing touch. And then it also sets a tone how we make love with our partners. So I want to move away from what I call low vibration masturbation and really make it in a ritual. 1 second. Amor, sorry for that. So it's also going to set a tone for lovemaking with a partner. And I want to move away from the low vibration masturbation, where we really just want to get off and there's no intention, there's no awareness. We go fast. We're not really in the body. We're just in the mind, and just bring some element of intentionality to that, sacredness, slowness, love, care, healing, right? So it's really up to us. And if we can bring all these elements to our self-pleasure practice, then that's how we can also influence the way we make love with our partners, right? So I often like to say that, especially as for us women, we might be complaining that our partners are one pump champ, right? There's this, I love that saying, one pump champ. But really, I want everyone who is listening to this to ask themselves, how do you self-pleasure? Because if it's just a 3 minute of intense rubbing, release, and bye, then you are really a one-pump champ for yourself. So how can we be complaining about our partners if this is also what we actually gift ourselves, right? So I'm going to invite everyone to just tune in. Give yourself at least an hour. Explore again, forget about reaching an orgasm and focus on moment-to-moment sensations. Start really with your entire body instead of going straight to the genitals. Bring awareness to your touch. What am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? Bring all those tools that you learned from your meditation classes, from your yoga classes. Start breathing. Start making a sound. Again, slowing down and just feeling into those more subtle sensations so you can start exploring. And I would love everyone to start really bringing more awareness to different levels of arousal. There is not just nothing in an orgasm. There is so much juiciness, so much depth in between, right? So what does this lower level of arousal brings? Where does that feel in the body? What is the quality of that sexual energy there? Where am I feeling it? How can I enjoy that without a need to rush for more? And then how does that medium level of arousal feel? What sensations accompany that? What shifts does it cause in me? Can I stay here, fully enjoy it for what it is without, again, a need for more? And then what is the higher level of arousal without still going after an orgasm? Do you see that? So they're really enjoying.
I'm even inching myself in my seat and I'm like standing up higher. I'm like, yes, I can go
Yes.
higher.
So it's like a dance. It's a dance with your, dance, I like to say, making love to your own breath, allowing and discovering and experimenting, rather than chasing always the same outcome, doing the same way of stimulation. Touch yourself differently, try something new, and some of it will land and some of it will not. And it's like, hey, that didn't feel that good, but actually, that breast massage is more delicious than I thought. So changing things up and slowing down and just observing and treating an orgasm as a byproduct of relaxing into the pleasure, byproduct of being present, byproduct of just allowing our body to do its job, because it actually knows what to do. We don't have to push it, rush it, and pressure it, right? So that's such a, to me, a beautiful way to really also tuning more into your body than just rather in the mind. So bring the tools, right? You probably had a lot of guests around breath work, meditation, bringing all that. Welcome on that. Combine it with sex.
Oh, this is so juicy and so delicious in so many ways. How do we then incorporate our self-pleasure and now shift it into partnership or with couples, with husband, maybe your spouse, partner, somebody that you want to have this exchange with? As you're building up your own self-development, you kind of want to take them along the ride too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny because so often, and even today on that call that I mentioned, and it just happens over and over again, I have women saying, oh my God, Bibi, my husband says hi. He loves you.
I'm sure all of them love you.
Once actually, and it works both ways, right? But because we are a little bit more shy and suppressed when it comes to female sexuality, and I work with so many women, I see it more as a comment coming from women. But once we actually explored our body, once we found that G-spot, once we touched that cervix, once we learn what does the breath and sound and movement do to our body, what is that we like, what is that we don't like, how we want to navigate the whole foreplay, then we can start creating our own reality with ourselves and with a partner, and we can communicate, we can ask for that. For example, one of the things that I really love is creating a safe space and partners doing an act of conscious self-pleasure in front of each other. So sometimes even without saying and explaining, you witness each other in that, right? How beautiful is that? And again, creating safe space before. So this is one of the things that I love to do at the early stages of couples work. But again, when we unleashed some of the types of the orgasms with ourselves, then it will be easier to bring it to the partner. But really, what's powerful around it is the same principles as with, self-pleasure, go for lovemaking, right? Slowing down, having an intention, starting with what are you up for today? Maybe depending on your cycle, today you just, PMSing and want more of a slower, sensual healing touch, or you're ovulating and you want a more spanking and biting and you're more in your primal, fiery expression of yourself. So even sharing that and then enjoying the foreplay. I would love the foreplay to be, half an hour or more. Okay.
Half an hour or more.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, because I talk about it a lot. For us women to become fully aroused, to have our own erection, because we have so much of that erectile tissue. It's just that it's on the inside, so we don't see it. But to become fully aroused, and actually G-spot is also an erectile tissue, we really need to be engorged. We really need to be excited. And it takes time, especially for us, right? So taking time, but the foreplay itself can be already so juicy, involving the whole body, breathing, sounding, moving, slowing down, exploring different type of touch and different dynamics, and a bit of a dom and a bit of a sub, and again being playful. And without that, idea that we have to jump to a penetration. Sometimes they might be not even a penetration and you're going to have 5 orgasms. Okay. Sometimes it might be breastgasm or heartgasms. Sometimes you're going to give your partner amazing testicle massage. And, you know, I've done it myself and I witnessed men having full body orgasm just from the testicle massage. Right.
Wow.
So what I also like to do, especially the beginning, is to clearly define a giver and a receiver role, especially if we are exploring new things. So one can really relax, receive, and be present with sensations, start breathing, start sounding and receive, and then switching roles. But make it clear. I found it very helpful, especially at the beginning.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So like, I'm taking so many notes, but like, I think everyone is just like in awe because I know you do these workshops. I know you have programs. Is there a course for the couples? Is there a workshop? Do you like, do you assist live? Because I know that so many people want to come and see this.
What I actually love is, what I love about online courses, and I do offer Ecstatic Lovers course for couples, is that for some people who it might be really, really sound scary, you are in the comfort of your own bedroom. You know, sadly, with all those in workshops, retreats, and there is, you know, cases of abuse or things like that, we don't deal with that with online course. And what I also do, I go to bed with you guys without physically being there. Because I have all kind of videos with guided massages, and I have all kind of beautiful guided audios where I literally guide you through lovemaking, and I am there without physically being there, so you can really let go and you can really explore so much deeper. And I will be honest with you, okay, it's not just about the orgasms, because if I'm just going to teach you, Nita, how to, you know, massage a penis, but you are not feeling safe with a partner, or there is a resentment you don't know how to express, or you're not holding onto your boundaries, then it's really empty, then it's shallow. So I actually do a lot of different work, from, you know, forgiveness ritual, moving energy, emotional releases, communication, intimacy, sensuality. So it's like a whole journey. And all this together then allows you to really surrender. And especially for us women, this is the number one key for this truly orgasmic experiences, the state of complete relaxation and surrender. Wow. And it's not as easy as it sounds. So all this come together in place. So yeah.
So, okay. So then you'll share how we can get access to this erotic lovers, right? Erotic lovers.
Ecstatic lovers. Ecstatic lovers. So I actually invite people to do a few things. On my Instagram and my website, you can see a free practice, complimentary guided practice. It's an intimacy practice. It's called Soul Connector. Okay. Download that, guys, so you get a feel of what it is. This one is again on intimacy, not sexuality, but what a beautiful thing. On a new date with an old partner, it works for, you know, same gender non-conforming, everyone. Beautiful practice. Okay, then
Soul Connector, I will also, on your Instagram. Okay.
Soul Connector. Then I am actually offering a free masterclass on that I'm going to start promoting around Valentine's Day. And then my live round of Ecstatic Lovers course opens up at the beginning of March. So
just in time.
Just in time. It's a 12-week journey, which I also love about online courses, because really research shows that to see change in the brain, you need at least 40 days, right? So I like retreats and I go on many, but so many people, so many couples struggle with the same, and I'm sure you resonate. You know, there's kids, there's business. How do we carve time for intimacy? And if I have you there for 12 weeks and you have to carve time in your everyday life, not just on vacation, holidays, and a getaway, which those are powerful, but you don't want to be dependent on those. You want to bring that to your everyday life, right? So then we kind of are able to create that habit of prioritizing your romantic relationship, your connection.
This is so juicy. I'm gonna link everything. Can you spell your IG handle? Because it's Bibi Brzozka.
I know it's actually, I'm Polish, so my surname is now, it's so complicated. Again, I had to be creative with my nickname. So it's Planet Bibi.
Planet Bibi,
like,
that's right.
yes, I am on my own planet, guys, and I invite everyone to get there with me. It's a lot of fun. It's very orgasmic. Planet Bibi. It's actually my nickname, again, to go around the complicated Polish name.
Perfect, but I love your Polish name so much.
And if there's any women who are like, okay, but I don't have a partner, ladies, I do have a course called Ladder to Bliss, which is a journey for women only, and I run it 3 times a year. So there's free erotic glow activation for you as well to download. So visit, explore, everything is very clear. And
Planet Bibi.
Planet Bibi.
Planet Bibi, I love it. Well, my question for you, my one question, what does it mean to be brave in this season?
Yeah, what does it mean to be brave? For me, it means following your intuition, speaking your truth, and really being committed to what you believe. And especially if it is actually not accepted by the status quo, and owning your uniqueness, owning your individuality, owning your different point of view in a gentle, kind, loving way. And I know with the cancel culture, with censorship, with so much division and hatred that we are observing in the society, it's all black or white, there's like almost nothing in the middle. Just trusting that if it's really alive for you, it really resonates with you, follow that and continue on this journey. And this has also been my journey, right? I get censored, I get criticized, although probably even less than people think, but some of the things that I'm sharing are not status quo or are taboo, but I so believe in this, that I am following this path. And people resonate with that, and this is how we, opinion makers, change leaders, trendsetters, we never going to be accepted by the majority. We're always going to be a little bit of a step ahead. So if you are facing that, trusting, following, and committing to your mission, your vision, and yeah, that's what it is.
Planet Bibi, this was such a pleasure. Bibi, this was so amazing. Thank you for joining us on the Brave Table Love.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure. And, I am so up for co-creating with amazing women. There's change needed, and we can only bring the change when we unite, when we support each other, when we collaborate. And just such a pleasure to be a part of your journey, and vice versa. So yeah,
so good. See you next time at the Brave Table.